The strange lights appeared in Earth's skies on a Tuesday morning. They hung like new stars above every major city on the planet, perfectly still and eerily silent. No one knew what to make of them at first. Some thought they were weather balloons or secret military aircraft. But Ellen Wright knew better. As captain of the newly formed Earth Defense Force's first space-capable vessel, she had been watching the skies for years. "Those aren't ours," she said quietly, staring at the monitor in the Colorado Command Center. The room around her buzzed with activity as military personnel rushed between stations. Phones rang constantly. On every screen, the same glowing objects hovered, defying all known laws of physics. Admiral Joe Bennett approached her station, his face grim. "Captain Wright, what are we looking at?" Ellen pointed to the data scrolling across her screen. "Sir, these objects are massive. Each one is roughly the size of a naval aircraft carrier. They're sitting at an altitude of 80,000 feet and they're not using any propulsion system we can detect." The Admiral's face paled. "Aliens?" Ellen nodded slowly. "I believe so, sir. Across the planet, people stopped what they were doing to stare at the sky. In New York City, traffic halted as drivers left their cars to look up. In Moscow, crowds gathered in Red Square pointing at the gleaming object overhead. In Beijing, millions of phone cameras aimed skyward, capturing videos that spread across the internet in seconds. Dr. Alan Peters sat in his university office, watching the news with growing excitement. As head of SETI's communication division, he had spent his career searching for signs of extraterrestrial intelligence. Now they had come to Earth, and the world was calling him. His phone rang again. This time it was the president. "Dr. Peters, we need you in Washington. Now." 6 hours later, Alan sat in a packed situation room beneath the White House. Military officers, scientists, and government officials argued loudly about what to do. Some wanted to attack the ships immediately. Others insisted on attempting communication. "First, people please." The president's voice cut through the chaos. "Dr. Peters has developed protocols for this exact scenario. Let's hear what he has to say." Alan cleared his throat nervously. "Thank you, Mr. President. My team has been preparing for first contact for decades. I recommend we attempt communication using mathematical sequences. They're universal. We should avoid any actions that might be seen as threatening." A general slammed his fist on the table. "And if they're already hostile, what then?" Before Alan could answer, the screens around the room flickered. The feed from global news channels disappeared, replaced by a strange face. Its skin was pale, blue with ridged features that looked almost reptilian. Its eyes were large and yellow with vertical pupils. When it spoke, its thin lips barely moved, but everyone heard the words clearly in their minds. "People of Earth, we are the Zaxian Collective. Your world is now under our authority. You will submit to our rule or face extinction. You have 48 hours to surrender your weapons and pledge loyalty to the Collective." The screens went dark. The room erupted in panicked voices. 5,000 miles away, Navy SEAL Jack Morrison crouched behind a rock formation in the Arizona desert. His team had been deployed the moment radar detected a smaller alien craft landing outside Phoenix. Through his night vision goggles, he watched as 3 tall figures emerged from the ship. Eagle 1 to command. "I have eyes on the targets. 3 entities, approximately 7 feet tall, moving toward the east. Permission to follow?" "Permission granted," came the reply. "Observe only. Do not engage unless fired upon." Jack signaled to his team, and they moved silently through the desert, tracking the aliens. The creatures moved awkwardly in Earth's gravity, their steps hesitant. One of them stopped suddenly, its hands going to its throat. It made a horrible choking sound before collapsing to the ground. The others rushed to help, but within minutes, they too were struggling to breathe. "Command, the targets appear to be having some kind of reaction to our atmosphere," Jack whispered. "They're down, requesting permission to approach the ship. Proceed with extreme caution, Eagle 1. Jack and his team moved carefully toward the fallen aliens. Their skin had turned from blue to a sickly gray, and thick yellow fluid leaked from their mouths and eyes. They were clearly dead. "Something in our air killed them," said Sam Rodriguez, the team's medic. Maybe oxygen is toxic to them. Jack nodded thoughtfully. That could be useful information. He turned toward the abandoned ship. Let's see what else we can learn. Back in Washington, Captain Ellen Wright stood before a hastily assembled war council. The aliens have positioned their ships to target our major military installations, she explained, pointing to the global map. If they attack, our conventional weapons will be useless against their technology. So what do you suggest, Captain? Asked the President. Sir, we just received intel from a SEAL team in Arizona. It appears the aliens cannot breathe our atmosphere without protection. Additionally, our scientists have analyzed their communications and found potential vulnerabilities in their energy fields. Dr. Samantha Cole, a physicist from MIT, stepped forward. The alien shields operate on a frequency we can disrupt with modified EMP weapons. It won't destroy their ships, but it might disable them long enough for us to board. The President looked skeptical. You want to board alien vessels? It's our only chance, Ellen insisted. If we can capture their technology, we might stand a chance. As they discussed strategy, the alien ships began to move. Smaller craft emerged from the larger vessels, descending toward military bases worldwide. They're not waiting 48 hours, someone said. Then neither will we, replied the President. Captain Wright, Dr. Cole, implement your plan. General Harris, coordinate with all allied nations. As of this moment, we are at war. Across the planet, humans prepared to fight an enemy they knew nothing about. In labs and workshops, scientists and engineers worked frantically to modify weapons based on Dr. Cole's findings. Military units mobilized, and civilians were evacuated from major cities. In orbit, Admiral Vex Thor of the Zaxian Collective watched with mild amusement. These humans are so primitive, he said to his second-in-command. They still use combustion engines and ballistic weapons. This will be the easiest conquest in Imperial history. Sir, his officer replied hesitantly, our scouts in the desert have not reported back. Vex Thor waved dismissively. Probably equipment failure. This backward planet hardly has the technology to harm our forces. He turned to the weapons officer. Begin the first phase of the attack. Target their military installations only. We want to preserve the rest of the planet for colonization. Little did he know, he had just made the biggest mistake in Imperial history. The first wave of alien attacks came at dawn. Zaxian fighters screamed through Earth's atmosphere, their weapons turning military bases into smoking craters. Admiral Vex Thor watched from his command ship, pleased with the initial results. See how easily their defenses fall, he said to his officers. These humans will surrender by nightfall. But Vex Thor had miscalculated. In underground bunkers across the planet, humanity was preparing a surprise. Dr. Samantha Cole hadn't slept in 36 hours. Her lab beneath the Rocky Mountains was filled with engineers and scientists working frantically to modify Earth's weapons. The alien ship that Jack Morrison's team had captured in Arizona provided the key. The Zaxian shields can't handle rapid temperature changes, Samantha explained to the military leaders gathered around her workbench. If we alternate between extreme heat and cold in rapid succession, we can create a cascade failure in their defense systems. General Frank Miller nodded grimly. How soon can we deploy this? We've already modified missiles at 6 bases, Samantha replied. They're ready now. General Miller didn't waste time. He issued the order. Launch Counterstrike Alpha. Across North America, modified missiles rose from hidden silos. The Zaxians detected them but weren't concerned. Their shields had never failed. Against primitive weapons before, they were wrong. When the missiles detonated near the alien fighters, they didn't explode in the usual way. Instead, they released alternating pulses of heat and cold that created a ripple effect through the Zaxian energy shields. The alien pilots watched in horror as their supposedly impenetrable defenses flickered and died. Earth's air forces were waiting. F-35 fighters, hastily equipped with weapons based on the alien technology, engaged the suddenly vulnerable Zaxian craft. For the first time, humans scored victories against the invaders. Admiral Vex Thor couldn't believe the reports. Coming in, Impossible. Their technology is centuries behind ours. His second-in-command looked worried. Sir, we've lost 23 fighters already. Their weapons shouldn't be able to penetrate our shields. Then they've found a weakness, Vexthor growled. Pull back the fighters. We'll bombard them from orbit instead. But the humans had anticipated this. While the air battle raged, Commander William Hayes led a daring mission into space. 3 shuttles, modified with stealth technology reversed engineered, from the captured alien craft approached Vexthor's command ship undetected. William's voice was steady as he addressed his team. Remember your training. We have one shot at this. Our job is to capture their faster-than-light drive and communications array. Nothing else matters. The boarding team attached to the hull of the massive alien vessel and cut their way inside. The Zaxian crew, unused to fighting in close quarters, fell quickly to the human special forces soldiers. Within an hour, the boarding team had secured the ship's engine room and communications center. William immediately contacted Earth. Phoenix, to base, we're in. Sending data now. The information streaming to Earth was beyond valuable. Not only did it contain the secrets of faster-than-light travel, but it also gave humans access to the entire Zaxian military communications network. Back at the command center, Ellen Wright could hardly believe what she was seeing. They're requesting reinforcements, she told the assembled leaders. They're actually afraid of us. Dr. Alan Peters studied the alien language scrolling across the screens. They're telling their homeworld that we have technology that shouldn't be possible for our development stage. They think someone else must be helping us. No one's helping us but ourselves, General Miller said proudly. That's something they don't understand. Despite the initial human victories, the war was far from over. Zaxian ships still held positions above every major city, and their technology remained far superior. But the psychological advantage had shifted. The invaders, who had expected an easy conquest, now faced a species that refused to submit and seemed to adapt with incredible speed. In his lab in Phoenix, Jack Morrison watched as scientists examined the bodies of the dead aliens. What killed them? He asked the lead researcher. Nitrogen, she replied simply. Our atmosphere is about 78% nitrogen. To them, it's highly toxic. They need to wear special suits just to walk around here. Jack thought about this. So they're vulnerable on the ground. That's why they're staying in their ships. Exactly. This information spread quickly through the human resistance network. The Zaxians might control the skies, but they couldn't set foot on Earth without protection. It gave humans another advantage in the ground war that was sure to come. 6 weeks into the conflict, Olivia Ramirez, a NASA engineer working with Samantha Cole, made another breakthrough. The aliens use quantum communication, she explained to Ellen, but we can disrupt it with targeted electromagnetic pulses. Can we use that to blind them? Ellen asked. Olivia nodded. Better, we can feed them false information. The plan was risky but brilliant. Using the captured communication array, humans began inserting fake orders into the Zaxian command network. Ships were sent to defend against attacks that never came. Supply vessels moved away from their intended destinations. Confusion spread through the alien fleet. Admiral Vexthor knew something was wrong but couldn't identify the source of the problem. This planet was supposed to be an easy conquest. He raged to his officers. How are they doing this? The answer was something the Zaxian Empire had never encountered before: human adaptability. While the aliens relied on superior technology and rigid military doctrine, humans improvised, cooperated, and learned at an astonishing rate. In a secure facility beneath what remained of the Pentagon, President Lewis addressed the leaders of Earth's nations via secure video link. We've proven we can fight back, but we can't win a war of attrition. We need to take the next step. Ellen Wright stepped forward. With the FTL drive we captured, we can build our own interstellar ship. We can take the fight to them. One ship against an empire, someone asked skeptically. One ship is all we need, Ellen replied confidently. We don't have to defeat their entire fleet. We just need to hit them where it hurts, show them that Earth isn't just defended, we can strike back. The president made his decision. Make it happen, Captain Wright. You'll command our first starship. 3 months later, in a hidden facility beneath the Pacific Ocean, Ellen stood before the newly completed vessel. Sleek and dangerous, it combined human ingenuity with Zaxian technology. They named it Defiance. As the crew prepared for humanity's first interstellar mission, Admiral Vexthor was summoning more ships from across the Empire. He would not accept defeat at the hands of primitives. What he didn't realize was that humans were no longer fighting just to survive. They were fighting to win. And they were about to bring the war to his doorstep. The Defiance slipped silently through the darkness of space. Captain Ellen Wright sat in the command chair, watching as stars streaked past the view screen. 6 months ago, humans had barely reached their own moon. Now they were traveling faster than light toward the Alpha Centauri system. Status report, Ellen said. Lieutenant Steve Parker looked up from his console. All systems functioning at optimal levels, Captain. We'll reach the Zaxian supply depot in 20 minutes. Ellen nodded. And they still don't know we're coming? No, ma'am. Their sensors aren't designed to detect our hybrid drive signature. As far as they're concerned, we don't exist. This mission was humanity's first strike beyond their solar system. The Defiance carried Earth's best soldiers, scientists, and pilots. Their target was a massive Zaxian facility where the aliens stored fuel, weapons, and ships. Destroying it would cripple the Empire's ability to continue the war against Earth. Back on Earth, Dr. Alan Peters worked day and night to decipher the Empire's strategic database. The information from the captured Zaxian ships had given humans unprecedented insight into their enemy. I think I found something important, Alan told Dr. Samantha Cole as they reviewed the data. We're not the first species to resist the Empire. Samantha looked surprised. There were others? Alan nodded grimly. Many others, but they all failed. The Empire crushed each rebellion individually. He pointed to a section of alien text. The difference is those species fought alone. They were isolated on single planets and easily overwhelmed. But humans are different, Samantha said. We're united now, like never before. It was true. The alien invasion had done what centuries of human history could not. It had brought all nations together against a common threat. Old enemies now worked side by side. Scientists shared discoveries instantly across the globe. Resources were pooled, and strategies coordinated worldwide. This unity confused and frustrated Admiral Vexthor. In his war room aboard the Imperial flagship, he pounded his fist on the tactical display. Why are they so difficult to break? He demanded. Other species would have surrendered by now. His science officer, Zarnak, had been studying human behavior. They adapt faster than any species we've encountered, Admiral. They learn from each defeat and improve, and they cooperate in ways our models didn't predict. Vexthor's eyes narrowed. Then, we need a different approach. He turned to his weapons officer. Prepare the neural pathogen. If we can't defeat them, conventionally, we'll simply eliminate them. The Zaxian Empire had rules against using biological weapons, but Vexthor was desperate. The neural pathogen was designed to attack the human nervous system, causing paralysis and death within hours. It was odorless, colorless, and nearly impossible to detect without specialized equipment. What Vexthor didn't know was that humans had already intercepted his orders. In an underground lab beneath Atlanta, Dr. Richard Garcia worked frantically to develop a defense against the coming attack. The pathogen targets human neural pathways, he explained to the emergency committee, but its delivery mechanism is surprisingly simple. We can modify it to target Zaxian biology instead. General Miller leaned forward. You're saying we can turn their weapon against them? Richard nodded. Exactly. But we need to work fast, at a bay. That moment in the Alpha Centauri system, the Defiance was approaching the Zaxian depot. Ellen Wright addressed her crew over the intercom. We all know what's at stake. This mission isn't just about destroying a supply depot. It's about showing the Empire that humans can fight back anywhere in the galaxy. Today we make history. The attack began perfectly. The Defiance emerged from light speed directly above the depot. its weapons already firing. The Zaxian defenders were caught completely by surprise. Their shields weren't even active when the first human missiles struck. Commander Jack Morrison led the ground team that boarded the station. They moved quickly through the alien corridors, planting explosives at key junctions. The few Zaxian troops they encountered were easily overcome. The aliens had grown complacent, never expecting an attack so far from Earth. "Charges set," Jack reported. "We have 10 minutes to get back to the ship." As his team retreated, Jack noticed a secured room heavily protected by Zaxian security measures. Curious, he bypassed the lock and looked inside. What he found wasn't weapons or fuel, but data. Endless streams of it flowing through alien computers. "Change of plans," he told his team. "Download everything from this server before we leave." That stolen data would prove more valuable than any destroyed depot. It contained the Empire's complete military communication codes, patrol routes, and, most importantly, the location of other subjugated species across the galaxy. The Defiance escaped just as the depot exploded behind it. The mission was a complete success, but it was only the beginning. When news of the attack reached the Imperial homeworld, panic spread through the Zaxian leadership. "Impossible!" exclaimed Council Elder Vexmore. "These primitives shouldn't even be able to leave their own system." For the first time, the mighty Galactic Council felt fear. If humans could strike at Alpha Centauri, where else might they attack? The Empire had grown comfortable with easy victories in species that submitted quickly. Humans were proving to be something else entirely. Back on Earth, Admiral Vexthor launched his biological attack. Zaxian ships released the neural pathogen into the atmosphere above major human cities. The aliens watched, expecting to see humans fall in the streets as their nervous systems shut down. Instead, nothing happened. Dr. Garcia's team had worked a miracle. They had not only neutralized the pathogen, but had also released a counter-agent that rendered humans immune. More than that, they had modified the virus as planned, creating a strain that would target Zaxian biology instead. When Zaxian troops later landed to confirm their victory, they removed their protective helmets, believing Earth's atmosphere had been cleansed for their use. Within minutes, they began to die, not from the nitrogen in the air, but from their own weapon turned against them. Vexthor watched in horror as reports came in from ground teams across the planet. "Retreat," he ordered. "Pull all forces back, to orbit immediately." For the first time since the war began, Earth's skies were clear of alien ships. It gave humanity the breathing room they needed to prepare for the next phase of the conflict. In her office at the new Earth Defense Headquarters, Ellen Wright studied the data Jack Morrison had stolen from the Alpha Centauri depot. Her eyes widened as she realized what they had found. "We're not alone in this fight," she told the assembled military leaders. "There are dozens of other species being oppressed by the Empire. If we can reach them, unite them." General Miller finished her thought. "We could build an alliance strong enough to challenge the Empire itself." Ellen nodded. The Zaxians made their biggest mistake when they attacked Earth. They didn't just wake up one planet. They may have started the chain reaction that brings down their entire empire. As humanity prepared to reach out to potential allies among the stars, Admiral Vexthor faced the wrath of the Galactic Council. The war that was supposed to be a simple conquest had become the Empire's greatest crisis, and it was only going to get worse. 2 years had passed since the first alien ships appeared in Earth's skies. The war had changed in ways no one could have predicted. Humanity was no longer fighting just to survive. They were fighting to win. In the massive underground shipyard, beneath the Pacific Ocean, 30 sleek warships waited. Each vessel combined human innovation with Zaxian technology, and each was more advanced than the last as human engineers learned and improved with remarkable speed. General Frank Miller stood with Captain Ellen Wright on the observation deck, watching workers make final adjustments to the flagship. 2 years ago, we couldn't even leave our own planet, Frank said quietly. Now look at us. Ellen nodded. We've come a long way. But the real fight is just beginning. The data stolen from the Alpha Centauri depot had given humans the locations of dozens of worlds conquered by the Zaxian Empire. Many of these planets had resources or abilities that could help in the war effort, if only they could be convinced to join the fight. The plan was bold. Earth's new fleet would split into 5 battle groups. Each would target different sectors of Zaxian space, attacking Imperial outposts while also making contact with subjugated species. The Braxians should be our first priority, Dr. Alan Peters told the War Council. According to the data, they're silicon-based life forms. The Empire has been mining their world for centuries, using them as slave labor. What makes them special? Asked President Lewis. Their crystalline technology, Alan explained. They can manipulate energy in ways we never imagined. If we can free them and gain their alliance, it could change everything. The mission to the Braxian homeworld fell to Captain Ellen Wright and the Defiance. The journey would take 3 weeks at top speed. The planet was deep in Imperial territory. On the day of departure, the President addressed the crew. You carry with you the hopes of Earth and potentially many other worlds. Show the galaxy that humans fight not just for themselves, but for all who suffer under Imperial rule. The fleet left Earth orbit in a dazzling display of light as their engines engaged. For the first time, humans were taking the war to the heart of the Empire. Admiral Vexthor had been demoted after his failures on Earth. Now he served as a mere fleet commander, leading patrols along the borders of Zaxian space. His career was in shambles, his reputation ruined by the primitives who had somehow repelled his forces. Admiral, his sensor officer called out. We're detecting unusual energy signatures in Sector 7. Vexthor frowned. Sector 7 was far from any active rebellion. What kind of signatures? Unknown, sir, but they're moving at FTL speeds, multiple vessels. A chill ran down Vexthor's spine. The humans, he whispered. They're coming. He ordered an immediate pursuit, but it was too late. The human fleet had already split up, each battle group heading for different targets. Vexthor could only follow one. He chose to chase the Defiance, not knowing it was heading for the Braxian homeworld. His hatred for the humans, and especially for Captain Wright, had become personal. Meanwhile, Colonel Jack Morrison led a special mission of his own. His team of 12 Earth soldiers had been training for months for what might be the most dangerous operation of the war. Their target, a secret Imperial research facility where the Zaxians developed their most advanced weapons. Their ship was tiny compared to the fleet vessels, just a modified shuttle with enhanced stealth capabilities. They slipped past Imperial, patrols undetected, eventually reaching the facility hidden inside an asteroid field. Remember, Jack told his team as they prepared to board, our primary objective is intelligence gathering. We need to know what they're building in there. Fighting is a last resort. They used specialized cutting tools to create an entry point in the facility's outer hull. Once inside, they moved silently through the corridors, avoiding Zaxian security. Patrols. What they found in the central laboratory shocked even the battle-hardened soldiers. A Zaxian scientist named Zexara was leading a team working on a planet-killing weapon, a device capable of inducing supernovas in stars. They're planning to use it on Earth's sun, Jack whispered, as they watched the aliens work. We need to stop them. Their mission parameters changed instantly. Instead of just gathering intelligence, they now had to sabotage the weapon and escape with the plans. But as they moved to set explosives, an alarm sounded. They had been discovered. In the chaos that followed, most of Jack's team was killed or captured. Jack himself was cornered by Zaxian guards when something unexpected happened. The lead scientist Zexara helped him escape. Why are you helping me? Jack asked as they ran toward his shuttle. Because what we're doing is wrong, Zexara replied. The Empire has become something I can no longer support. The weapon, it's too powerful. No species should have that kind of power. Jack made a quick decision. Come with me. Defect to our side. Zexara hesitated only briefly before nodding. Together they escaped the facility moments before Jack's explosives detonated, destroying the prototype weapon. The defection of a high-ranking Zaxian scientist was unprecedented. When Jack returned to the fleet with Zexara, the alien became an invaluable source of information about Imperial technology and tactics. But the most important thing Zexara revealed was the existence of the Empire's greatest vulnerability, a central artificial intelligence nexus that coordinated all Imperial military operations. It's located in the heart of Zaxian space on their homeworld, Zexara explained. If you could access it, you could shut down their entire military machine. Dr. Samantha Cole's eyes widened as she studied the schematics. We could do more, then shut it down. We could reprogram it. Meanwhile, Captain Ellen Wright's mission to the Braxian homeworld had succeeded beyond all expectations. The silicon-based aliens had been waiting generations for a chance to overthrow their oppressors. When the Defiance destroyed the Imperial garrison in orbit, the Braxians rose up against their captors on the ground. Ellen stood in amazement as she met the Braxian leader for the first time. The alien's body was composed of interlocking crystal formations that shifted and changed as it moved. When it spoke, its voice resonated like wind chimes. For centuries, we have waited for this day, the Braxian said. The prophecy told of allies from beyond the stars who would help us break our chains. We offer you our friendship and our technology in the fight against our common enemy. The Braxian crystalline technology was unlike anything humans had ever seen. It could disrupt the Empire's quantum communications network, essentially blinding their forces during battle. As the war expanded across multiple star systems, other species joined the growing alliance. Each brought unique abilities and technologies to the fight. What had started as Earth's desperate struggle for survival had become a galactic revolution. Admiral Vexthor watched with growing dread as more and more Imperial outposts fell to the human-led coalition. His superiors blamed him for underestimating the humans in the first place. If Earth had been crushed quickly as planned, none of this would be happening. In a desperate bid to regain favor, Vexthor proposed a bold plan to the Galactic Council. Operation Stellar Strike, a direct assault on the human-led coalition using the Empire's most powerful weapons, including the Star Killer that was being rebuilt. We must crush them completely, he urged the Council. No mercy, no prisoners. We must make an example of Earth that will be remembered for 1,000 years. The Council members looked at each other nervously. They knew the stakes were higher than ever before. If they failed again, it might mean the end of the Empire itself. After hours of debate, they gave Vexthor one last chance. Destroy the humans, the High Counselor ordered, whatever it takes. What none of them realized was that the coalition already knew about Operation Stellar Strike. Zexara had helped humans plant spies throughout the Imperial command structure. Nothing the Zaxians planned remained secret for long. And while Vexthor prepared for what he believed would be the final battle against humans, Ellen Wright and her allies were making plans of their own. A daring assault on the very heart of the Empire. The plan to attack the Zaxian homeworld was the most daring move in the history of warfare. No enemy force had ever reached the heart of the Empire before. The risks were enormous, but the potential reward, ending the war, made it worth. Trying Captain Ellen Wright stood on the bridge of the Defiance, now the flagship of a multi-species fleet. Around her were not just humans, but representatives from 7 different species who had joined the coalition against the Empire. All ships report ready, Captain, said Lieutenant Steve Parker. Ellen took a deep breath. Send the signal. Operation Thunderstrike begins now. Across the fleet, FTL drives engaged. The ships vanished into hyperspace, beginning their journey to the Zaxian homeworld. At that same moment, the Galactic Council was in emergency session. Reports of rebellion were coming in from across the Empire. Admiral Vexthor stood before them, outlining his plan for crushing the human-led coalition. Once and for all, the stellar extinguisher is ready, he explained. We will target Earth's sun, inducing a supernova that will destroy their entire system. Without their homeworld, the human resistance will collapse, and the other rebellious species will lose hope. There was a murmur of concern among the council members. Such a weapon has never been used before, said Elder Kaznar. It violates our ancient laws. This is no time for laws, Vexthor shouted. The Empire itself is at risk. We must use every weapon at our disposal. After hours of debate, the Council reluctantly approved the plan. The stellar extinguisher, the Empire's most terrible weapon, would be deployed against Earth. The weapon required 3 days to power up, after which it would fire a specialized beam through hyperspace directly at Earth's sun. What the Zaxians didn't know was that a small human strike team led by Colonel Jack Morrison had already infiltrated the stellar extinguisher facility. With him was the defector Zexara, whose knowledge of Imperial security systems had been invaluable. "We need to reach the main control room," Zexara whispered as they moved through the darkened corridors. "From there, I can access the targeting systems." The team fought their way through Zaxian security forces, suffering casualties but pushing forward. They knew the lives of everyone on Earth depended on their success. Meanwhile, the Coalition fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Zaxian home system. Immediately, alarms rang throughout the Imperial defense network. The Zaxians had never imagined an enemy could reach their homeworld, and their defenses were not as strong as they should have been. "They're scrambling to respond," Ellen observed, as she watched the tactical display. Just as we predicted, the Coalition fleet split into 3 battle groups. 2 would engage the Imperial defenses, drawing their attention and fire. The third, led by the Defiance, would slip through the chaos and head directly for the planet, specifically for the location of the central AI nexus that controlled the Imperial military. Admiral Vexthor was outraged when he received news of the attack. "Impossible. How did they find our homeworld?" Then a more disturbing thought struck him. The stellar extinguisher. They must be trying to stop it. He ordered all available ships to protect the weapon facility. This played directly into the Coalition's hands, drawing forces away from the planet itself. Back at the facility, Jack's team had reached the main control room after a fierce battle. Most of his soldiers were wounded or dead, but they had succeeded in securing the area. Zexara immediately went to work on the control systems. "We don't have time to fully disable it," the alien scientist explained. "But I can change the targeting parameters." Jack looked grim. "Target their sun instead." Zexara hesitated. "That would kill billions of my people." "Not if we limit the effect," Jack replied. "Can you reduce the power? Cause disruption without full destruction?" The alien considered this, then nodded. "Yes, I can set it to destabilize rather than destroy. It will create massive solar flares disrupting their technology and communications, but the planet will survive." As Zexara worked, Imperial forces were closing in on their position. Jack and his remaining team members prepared for a last stand. In orbit above the Zaxian homeworld, the battle raged. The Coalition forces fought with coordination and determination that confused and frightened the Imperial commanders. Species that the Zaxians had conquered and deemed weak now returned with advanced weapons and fierce resolve. The Defiance, escorted by Braxian crystalline ships that could bend sensor readings around them, managed to break through the planetary defense grid. They established orbit directly above the location of the AI nexus. "Prepare for ground assault," Ellen ordered. She would lead this mission personally, the most crucial operation of the entire war. As transport ships headed for the surface, Admiral Vexthor finally realized the Coalition's true target. "The Nexus! They're going after the Nexus!" he ordered. All remaining ships to converge on the Defiance, but it was too late. Ellen's team landed and fought their way through the Zaxian capital city. The buildings were tall and crystalline, beautiful in their alien way. Ellen found herself hoping they could end this war without destroying such wonders. At the facility housing the AI Nexus, Dr. Samantha Cole and a team of human and alien scientists prepared the special virus they had developed. It would not destroy the AI, but reprogram it to recognize all sentient species as equals, effectively ending the Empire's ability to control its automated military. "Remember," Ellen told her team, "we need 15 minutes to upload the virus. Hold this position at all costs." The battle for the Nexus was brutal. Zaxian forces poured in from all directions, desperate to protect their most vital system. The Coalition soldiers, human, Braxian, and others, fought side by side, covering the scientists as they worked. At the Stellar Extinguisher facility, Jack's position was about to be overrun when the weapon began to power up. Zegsara had finished the reprogramming just in time. "It's done," the alien scientist said. "I've also set the facility to self-destruct after firing. No one should have this kind of power." As they fought their way to an escape ship, Jack looked at the former Imperial scientist with new respect. "You're sacrificing everything to help us." "Why?" "Because the Empire was wrong," Zegsara replied simply. "All species deserve freedom, not just Zaxians." The Stellar Extinguisher fired, but instead of Earth's sun, the beam struck the Zaxian star. Almost immediately, massive solar flares erupted, washing over the planet. Zaxian ships lost power as the electromagnetic pulses disrupted their systems. Communications went down across the Empire. In the confusion, Ellen's team completed their mission. The virus uploaded successfully to the AI Nexus, spreading instantly throughout the Imperial network. Across the galaxy, automated Zaxian defense systems shut down. Weapons went offline. The mighty Imperial military, so dependent on its central control, was paralyzed. Admiral Vexthor watched in horror from his flagship as the Empire literally fell apart around him. "What have they done?" he whispered. The answer came when every screen in the ship suddenly displayed the same message, broadcast in all languages across the galaxy. "The Zaxian Empire has ended. All species are now free and equal. The time of oppression is over." With their military disabled and their homeworld in chaos from the solar flares, the Zaxian leadership had no choice but to surrender. The Galactic Council, which had ruled for thousands of years, was dissolved and replaced with a new assembly, where all species, including humans, had equal representation. On the Defiance, Ellen received the formal surrender from the Zaxian High Command. Admiral Vexthor was among them, his once proud bearing now reduced to defeated resignation. "How?" he asked Ellen. "How did primitives like you defeat the greatest empire in galactic history?" Ellen smiled slightly. "That was your biggest mistake, Admiral. You judged us by our technology, not by our spirit. You dismissed our adaptability as weakness, our cooperation as inefficiency, and our compassion as vulnerability." She looked out at the stars visible through the viewscreen. "In doing so, you didn't just lose a war. You awakened a force that will change the galaxy forever." 3 months later, Ellen stood on a platform in New York City, where the first alien ships had appeared years ago. Beside her were representatives from all the species that had joined the coalition. Before them stretched a crowd of millions, with billions more watching worldwide. President Lewis stepped forward to address humanity. "Today marks the beginning of a new era. Earth is no longer alone in the universe. We have found our place among the stars, not through conquest like the Zaxians, but through cooperation and mutual respect." He turned to Ellen and the other coalition leaders. "Together, we have proven that the true measure of a civilization is not its weapons or its wealth, but its heart and its spirit." As Ellen looked out over the cheering crowd, she thought about everything humanity had endured and accomplished, from the brink of extinction to a leading force in a new galactic community. The journey had been painful and costly, but the future now stretched before them, filled with possibilities beyond imagination. The stars were no longer distant points of light. They were destinations. And humanity was ready to explore them not as conquerors, but as partners in a vast, diverse universe waiting to be discovered. The Galactic Empire's first war with humans had indeed been their biggest mistake, and humanity's greatest triumph.